One of the interesting components of this digital worker and the DNA of a digital worker is around process mining. And we're seeing, a lot of interest to lukewarm interest in process mining. What are your thoughts, Steve, on the process mining industry? And that includes task mining and discovery as well. I'm sort of lumping everything under process mining.
The basic goal of how do I use information about the process to make it better? However, right? I totally agree with that. Thanks, Shell. This is a particular passion of mine right now. So I'm gonna share the story here and try to paint the picture. Okay, so I look at process mining, I look at task mining, I look at process discovery, and I get the goal. And I yes, like a fact, who wouldn't love facts to make a decision, and applying analysis to fact patterns to find opportunities for automation, for improvement, or even training opportunities for employees, however that plays out. The challenge that I have with a lot of the tools is that they're hard to use or have incomplete data sets that they're basing their recommendations on. So for example, take process mining as a for instance. That requires that you have a system, more modern system that's capable of generating a log of what the user is doing. And ideally you want to have multiple systems generating multiple logs for a particular user group so that we can see the interaction of the process across these systems in terms of the flow, variance to the flow, standardization, lack thereof, or whatever it is, right? So that's good, but we also know, all of us know, people do a lot of work in Excel, they do a lot of work on, in Word and email that's not captured by these logs. So you get a bit of Swiss cheese in that there's a lot of holes in the data set. Now, that's a very valuable data set and you can learn a lot from that, but I think the devil's in the detail on this one, and the stuff that's happening adjacent to the system that's not quite in the system is probably as telling or more telling than what's actually happening in the system. So this is the gap that I've always had. Task mining, it's just essentially the same gap across all of these tool sets, not the least of which is that once you get the data, you have to translate it, and you have to have the BA time to actually understand what it is and go from code 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to, read the invoice, translating to English. So I've been watching this with great interest, but not jumping into it until someone figures out the data challenge is, I'm just going to wait. We found a way to address the data problems. So instead of starting from the process logs and then making decisions to go into task mining, we have a tool that gathers all of the data of what people are actually doing. It can consume the logs, but what they're actually doing at the desktop. Now you have this gigantic sea of data. And see, Steve, what am I going to do with 1 million events? We were just talking about AI. We use AI to form the events into tasks, and then to form the tasks into processes. And then we use AI to translate the tasks and processes into English so that someone could read what's happening and understand it. It's relatable. It's not some funky arcane code. It's what's happening. Okay. And we can, of course, consume the logs, as I said. So now you have, as I like to say, the facts. Now that we have the facts, what do we want to do with the facts, right? We can see, we can score this for, is this task well suited for automation? Does it have the characteristics of an automation? And then how complex would it be to build? And oh, by the way, have I already built something that I can leverage to speed that up? And that's around an automation, around an application. Or from a process improvement, I can say, is there a lot of variability in this task? Does the variability tend to be driven by a point of judgment that someone's making in the process? Or is there just like a lack of standards in the task, right? And then even down to at the individual employee level, it's like, hey, how is Steve doing compared to how he did last week? How is Steve doing compared to his peer group? Is he working? How long are the tasks taking? And we can start to introduce gamification into the employee enablement to turn it from that's interesting to I want to be the top of the scorecard here. And we can share that information with employees with the goal of helping them be better at their jobs. And maybe we're going to remix, like if I'm great at A but bad at B, but you're great at B and bad at A, as a supervisor, I can remix the work based upon us individually, and I'll be able to see that. So it's like this whole ecosystem of task process and discovery is really about the facts. Now, once you have the facts, it's just the same thing like with digital worker. Once you have the hands, what would you do? Once you have the facts, what would you do? And that's why I think like we are about to see a next generation of these tools coming in, using all of the above to really empower organizations to focus their energies around automation, to build the best processes, and to help create environments for people where they can excel. That's my view. It's a long view. Thank you for indulging that. But Shell, like, what are you seeing around this process task discovery mining areas?
See, I think there's a lot of similarities to how process mining, task mining, discovery are growing in the market. There's a lot of similarity to what happened in the RPA space. Incredible amount of hype leading to commoditization of attended automation, at least on the RPA side of the spectrum. Yeah, and then there's consolidation in the RPA spectrum, in the RPA space as well. If you look at process mining, it seems like it's a similar story, just running on fast forward, in the context that there has been a lot more consolidation, a lot faster in process mining than what we have seen in the RPA space. Clearly, it has value, and many organizations are using it for, identifying key areas that they want to automate, understanding their processes better. It's a lot better than having huge armies of consultants, the way things were done in the past, to determine what your processes should be. So process mining has certainly helped from that perspective.